Good evening and thank you for joining us on this edition of Insight here on Splash 105.5 FM, your integrity station. I am Seun Akinola. On Insight this week, I will engage in Professor Remi Sonaiya. Remi Sonaiya is aspiring to run again for the highest office in the land come 2019. Remi has always been interested in public affairs and is passionate about issues of justice, equity, and African development. She is touched by the plight of all who suffer exclusion and other forms of injustice. Children, women, and the disabled, the poor and the unschooled are concerns of Remi Sonaiya. She is equally concerned that the young people of Nigeria have to bear the brunt of the prevailing culture of corruption and equally have to pay for it in mass failure in their educational pursuits, very high levels of unemployment in our land, and feelings of anxiety and hopelessness concerning their future. She therefore used every opportunity at her disposal for engagement, for example, through the conduct of a life skills seminar. Remi Sonaiya's interest in public affairs and development issues influenced a decision to retire voluntarily from her position at the Obafemi Awolowo University in 2010 in order to devote more of her time and resources to those pursuits. Remi joined COA Party and was elected its National Public Relations Officer. She was COA Party's candidate for the 2015 presidential elections. She has contributed immensely to the society and gave it a thought to run for presidency again. My engagement with Remi Sonaiya raised a lot of issues about our nation, Nigeria. The existential issues of governance structure, security architecture, our ailing economy, and social values as a people. Professor Sonaiya believes that many Nigerians are of split personalities who hold on to their primordial sentiments of religion, culture, and other biases, as well as claiming to be a modern citizen. Is Nigeria a modern state? What is her definition of politics, and who is a politician to Remi Sonaiya? Do you agree with her that being a politician is the most honorable thing? What is her view on restructuring? How about state police and many other burning issues in our polity? I do hope you will have a great time listening to my guest, Professor Remi Sonaiya. Thank you for joining us right here on Splash 105.5 FM. It's your integrity station. I'm glad that you could join us on the program. It's Insight, and I'm Seun Akinola. I have with me a professor, a Nigerian politician, an educationist, as they call them, a writer, and a mother, a wife. I'd like to welcome Professor Remi Comfort Sonaiya to Insight. Prof, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be here. Thanks for the invitation.
Good to have you. You feel good being described as a politician, do you?
I do, actually.
You don't feel anything negative about being a politician?
Because my definition of a politician is different from that which probably is generally accepted or generally perceived as what a politician is in our environment. For me, a politician is somebody who is interested in the public good, and who's entrusted with authority to use the resources of the people, resources belonging to the generality of the people, for their utmost welfare and well-being. I think it is an honorable profession.
to be a politician.
To be a politician.
Okay, so that seems to be something different from the public perception of a politician.
Precisely, that's what I'm saying, that my own perception and conception of a politician is different from the generally, the general view that the public holds.
So if you are a politician in this mold, people will ask you, your political ideology, where does it stand?
My political ideology, the political ideology of my party, very frequently people say political parties in Nigeria have no ideology.
Sure.
Kowa Party has a two-pronged political ideology: social welfare and modernism. Two-pronged: social welfare and modernism.
I'd like us to start with modernism. What does it mean for Kowa when you say modernism is part of your ideology as party?
It means that Nigeria must become a modern state. We cannot continue to hold on either to customs, to ways of being, to ideas and traditions that are rooted, that are embedded in the 18th century, 19th century, 20th century, even in the 21st century. It simply won't work. Every society must evolve. I'm not saying that we should dump all our values of the past, but we should be able to engage with the things that we do, with the realities of the times, and say, hey, this is the best way for us to go. Definitely that there are still lingering ways that are pulling us down. And for me, these things are very important, because a country can only prosper when each individual has worth, has value, is treated, as inherently worthy, as being of worth and of value. You know that a lot of our children are still roaming the streets. We are treating some segments of the Nigerian population as if they were dispensable. Our kids are going on the streets and things like that. That's not a modern way of being. Your capital, your human capital, is being frittered away in this modern 21st century, and you think you are going anywhere, it's not going to happen.
So in terms of modernism, you viewed Nigeria as being pulled down by its way of looking at issues.
Yeah.
So if we say that we still look at the primordial sentiments of religion, of culture, of ethnicity, to determine
those
things.
Precisely.
Now, I'd like you to confront it frontally. Do you think that Nigeria is ready to shift from these things you just talked about now? Don't you also know that, I'm sure you know that we still consider religion, ethnic affiliations in deciding who becomes a leader at all spheres? That's
why Kowa deliberately and specifically chose modernism as one of our ideologies. It is that we cannot look where these considerations about culture and ethnicity and religion, look where they have brought us. What good have we derived corporately from holding tightly to the governor must, come from my part of the world or my part of the country. It must be somebody who has my religion, and so on and so forth. What has it brought us? Modern states are not run on the basis of such sentiments. Modern states are run on the basis of competence, qualification. What skills are you bringing to the job? Those are the considerations that matter for modern states. So we cannot continue, to hold on to religion and culture and this and that. We are not going anywhere. And you were asking whether Nigerians were ready.
Ready, yes.
I hope we are. I hope that something will just click in our heads that will make us to see that, look, what we have been doing so far has not helped us. We must be able to take, a dispassionate look at ourselves, an objective look at ourselves. Take that objective distance and say, look, let us consider our situation. The way we have been doing things up until now, what have we gained as a nation?
Okay, let's move on to something else. You said something about social welfare.
Yes.
Every government tout welfareism. Most government that we've had since 1999, we talk about, putting something for the people, helping the poor. Social welfare, part of the thing that social welfare should do is to lift people out of poverty.
Yes, indeed.
Now, I'd like you to tell me, what does social welfare mean to
Kowa Party? Social welfare for Kowa Party does not mean government by handouts. It does not. Distribute pepper grinding machine to the women, Okada, Keke Marwa, to some others and so on. That is not lifting people out of poverty. What lifts people out of poverty in a dignifying manner is for you to provide the environment that makes people excel, that makes people prosper in the things that they themselves choose they want to do. Send all your kids to school. Provide electricity for those who wish to engage in personal work. Make sure there's running water, good roads and things like that. I have come to identify for my own campaign personally the notion of access as being very, very important. Give equal access of opportunities to everybody. And access means, to water, to services, to electricity, to school, to education, and equal access, good health care. Give us equal access. Then we will be in a good state. We will be able to take care of ourselves. That is the job of government. The job of government is not to buy us grinding pepper machines, sewing machines. That is not government's job. It is even not a dignifying way to engage with your people.
For someone to lead Nigeria, for instance, the person must basically understand Nigeria and the complexity, the people, and the government. Now, I'd like you to do for me a diagnosis of Nigeria in this sense of 3 major problems you consider, big for Nigeria to quickly look at.
I have actually written books on Nigeria and the Nigerian question. I've written 3 books. A major problem right now, maybe that was not the problem when I wrote my first book. Then what we were dealing with was, I think, education. That was what I considered then as my first issue. I think now I will take education as second.
Okay.
I will take security as number one. Now, you've got to be alive, first and foremost, isn't it? And that is the very first duty of the leader, is to ensure the security of lives and property.
That's the primary duty of government.
That's the primary.
Even in our constitution.
Yeah. It is, there. Yes. That's why I said, it wasn't such an issue then, because Nigerians were not being killed like flies at the time when I was writing my first book. That was in 2010. But now, with all that we have been through in Benue, in Taraba, in Adamawa, and all over the country, Plateau State and things like that, what is uppermost in everybody's mind is let the killings stop, for goodness sake. Since I wrote my book, we've had also the abductions of the Chibok girls, of the Dapchi girls and things. So security has come to the fore. We assumed it before. We assumed it. We thought we were safe. We thought, those that we had entrusted, with our security would do their jobs of keeping us safe.
So for Professor Sonaiya now, the first thing Nigeria should deal with is security.
Yes, you've got to keep your people secure.
Do you have a solution to the security situation?
One thing I am certain about is that there must be a decentralization of the security apparatus. It does not make sense for us to have a centralized security system. To say we have a national police force ordered and controlled, from the center, and the IGP has to wait for the head of state, the president, to say go there. What kind of a security system is that? Security must be very close to the people.
Localized.
It must. I believe in community policing.
Not just state policing.
Not just state policing. I believe in community policing.
What's your idea of community policing?
Look, when I studied at Cornell University, there was campus police. Campus police. If anything happened anywhere on campus, they were there in minutes. They were there in minutes. So all these ideas, these strange ideas we have, I think it's because of the centralized system that we are running. And by the way, we are not being true to our name.
How?
Because our name says the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
We
are not a federation. No way. We are like a centralized state.
Are you hinting at restructuring?
I'm not hinting at it. I'm saying it loud and clear. What is this hinting?
I want to be clear.
I'm not hinting at it. I am saying let us be true to the name that we bear.
So what's your concept of restructuring, if I may ask that?
In fact, if we don't know what restructuring should look like, at least we know what it was, what structure we were running before the military came. We can say, okay, like the military people will say, Ajuwaya. So go back. It was a negotiated structure, and it made sense. It helped development. We are an amalgamation of disparate entities. There's no doubt about that. You have different, we are a nation of many nations, if we can put it that way. We're a nation of many nations. If you gave, that was why it made sense to negotiate that kind of structure then, because then you had relative autonomy. You had autonomy to determine which direction you wanted to take. That was the reason, that Awolowo could say, for me, my primary thing was education. The North could determine what their primary, the East could determine what their primary focus would be. And everybody went on and did what they wanted to do. And the people were happy. At least we understood ourselves. We knew that we did not have all go in the same way. So what is this forced centralized government that they have come to impose on us? And it came with the military.
If you're looking at this restructuring in such a way that we can probably go back to our regions, would you say we should go back to 3 regions or use our geographical zones right now?
Let us first of all accept the principle. I don't know what I can't say, let's go back to the 3 regions, let's go back to whatever. Let us engage our people.
How should we engage?
There are so many ways. I am waiting for the day when we will have one referendum in this country. Let us just try a referendum.
It's not in our constitution right now.
That what?
That we can go on for referendum. What we have is in the electoral laws, not in the constitution, not in our constitution.
That is the reason I believe that Nigeria is lagging behind other nations. When Senegal decided to scrap their Senate, was Senate not in their constitution before? How did they take that decision? If you recognize that something that you are doing is not to your advantage, did you not write the thing? Can you not choose to say, we are going back? Did they not do Brexit in the UK? Why is it that we tie our feet to like a rock?
We run a constitutional democracy. We cannot do anything outside of the constitution.
I don't understand what you mean by we run a constitutional democracy. We can have an amendment to our constitution. We can. The fact that we are running a constitutional democracy does not mean that we cannot sample the opinion of the general public. There are people conducting polls all the time anyway, Why can't we sample the opinions of the general public and say, what do you think? If you want such and such a thing, text yes to this number. All of us are carrying GSM phones around. Text yes, text no to these numbers.
We'll take a break now and be back in a moment. Professor Remi Sonaiya is still our guest. Please don't go away. Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us on Splash 105.5 FM, your integrity station and the best radio station in the southwest of Nigeria. The program is still Insight and Professor Remi Sonaiya is still our guest. At this point, we want to talk politics. For Professor Sonaiya, the presidential system is bloated and even wasteful. She doesn't see the need for a bicameral legislature. She asks a critical question. What advantages have we derived from a bicameral legislature? You want to know her reasons? Find out in this part of the interview. Professor Sonaiya, thank you for being here. I appreciate your contribution so far. I still want to talk about that governance structure. It's something that I'm really very concerned about. When we practice a regional system, more or less we were running a parliamentary system of government. But now it's presidential. Will you favor presidential to parliamentary system of government?
I believe that the current system is even wasteful. I don't see the need, personally, for this bloated system that we're running. We have these 2 houses. For the life of me, I am not sure what advantage we're deriving from having a bicameral system.
You want to be president,
What do you mean I want to be
and
president?
you're saying that we don't need bicameral system of government.
Yeah.
And
To
legislation.
yourself, be true. First and foremost, to yourself, be true. I have to live with myself. I know that there are some things you're not supposed to say, that there are ways, if you are contesting, things that you are supposed, to say. When I am president in 2019, I don't say such stuff. I don't say such stuff. Why? Because I don't know that I will be president in 2019. It is the Nigerians who will determine who will be their president. I don't want to come round and have difficulty living with myself.
So you think Nigeria does not need bicameral system?
We do not. We do not.
What do we need?
We just need some honest people. People have been saying this thing, even part-time legislators. See, my own thinking is that the point where we are right now is crucial, is critical for Nigeria. We need all the money we can devote to building solid infrastructure. Because most of our monies have run away. They've developed wings and flown away. We cannot have, remember also our modernism thing. We cannot have a modern system built on this rickety, very old, outdated infrastructure that we have in the land. We need every penny, every naira that we can put into rebuilding this nation, honestly. Rebuilding it, or even building. Roads, I travel a lot. I move about a lot. I know how much I suffer on the roads because of the state of our roads. It is a shame that in spite of the huge resources that have come into our hands, we don't have much to show for it.
Security that you said earlier, you said that we do not need a centralized architecture for our security system. And so if you look at these insecurity that we talk about right now, we've had situations with Boko Haram, we've talked about armed bandits running around the places in Zamfara, is suffering from armed bandits and cattle rustlers. We've had armed, herdsmen and the rest. These are issues. Now, if you look at them clinically, take Boko Haram for instance, what will you recommend that we will do? For instance, if you have to sit on the seat of Mr. President and be the Madam President, what will be your first steps to deal with Boko Haram?
See, for governance, honesty, transparency help greatly. There is a sense in which the lives of the entire population are compromised because the leaders choose not to be transparent, not to be fair. People have been saying, for goodness sake, how can you put the entire security structure in the hands of people from just one part of the country? Also, there seems we are dealing with body language with this administration. We don't really know. We have to guess at what the president is thinking by his body language. The body language has not inspired us to believe that the best is being done in terms of dealing with the security issues confronting us, be it Boko Haram, be it killer herdsmen, and so on and so forth. A president is not an expert in everything.
Certainly.
It's not an expert in everything, but the job of the leader is to ensure. It's something I learned several years ago from an interview with the mayor of New York City that I listened to some time ago. He said, my job is to look for the best people. My job is to look for the best people and entrust our affairs into their hands. So that even when you say which one would you do first, which one you do, it doesn't really work that way. A government must be functioning on all fronts, full blast, at the same time. Like you asked me, which three things and so on. It's not really which three things. It's everything must be going on at the same time. How can that be done? It's only if you ensure that is the best, the people that are qualified for this thing. It's like committed to them and you can really literally go to sleep.
How long will it take you to assemble these men, for instance, if you become president?
One thing that I have thought of and which I had wished that people, that our government would do was to ask the people for nominations.
The entire people, wouldn't you have a cacophony of voices? And confusing.
Confusing when you have to prove with supporting documents what the person has done to earn that nomination. What kind of cacophony if I say we need, the best economists, the best, engineers, for a particular thing, maybe structural engineers, civil engineers, or whatever. Nigerians are all over the world doing incredible things. Maybe in Nigeria, maybe in other countries. We are not using them because we do not either bother to look for them or, the criteria that we are using for selecting those who take charge of our affairs are not the proper criteria. It's more like contact, who knows you, who is recommending you, and so on and so forth.
Now, we talked about the three things. You talked about security. You said education will be your number two.
Yeah.
And then the third one you mentioned.
The third one, for me, would be agriculture.
Agriculture. So let's take the one by one. We're taking security. Let's take education, for instance. What's the most critical problem with education in Nigeria today?
Is that people are not being educated.
We have universities, we have college of education, polytechnics.
Because the issue is that most of us are like split personalities. Those of us who claim to be educated. We go to school and we're exposed to maybe the world of science and technology, and logic, cause and effect, and so on. But we operate in another world. It's the world that my husband calls Africa Magic World. The reason I say that is because we have not internalized the system, the underlying system of the education that we are being given. The formal education that we receive in our schools is based on the scientific method. It's a method, of objective observance of phenomena. Why is this like this? Why is that like that? How can I influence the course of, a certain kind of development? If I do this, what is likely to be the consequence and things? That is the kind of basis upon which that system of education is built. So here we are, we go to school, we are exposed to that, logic, cause and effect, and so on and so forth. Yes, but we get home And what do we operate? That system? No. For many of us. I'm not saying it's across the board, So you have a disease that is proven to be, intractable or something like that. And what, happens is that, just like you said earlier, your pastor tells you that this is not just something, you should take lightly. There's the hand of somebody. We have all these people controlling our lives by remote control. The woman in the village, your father's second wife and stuff like that. And it's ridiculous, really, for me. The challenge we are faced with is to decide which world we want to live in. And the reason I'm saying that is because it's the other world that makes us solve our problems. You have erosion, you can't solve it. You have mosquitoes killing you, you cannot solve that problem. We cannot solve our problems because we don't believe in the scientific method. So we are willing to receive all the medicines, whatever help we can get. Aid, let the Chinese come and try and solve this erosion problem or whatever. Let the Bill Gates Foundation come and try and help us with polio and malaria and so on. But we are not convinced, so it's not going to push us to try and help ourselves.
Now, so let me get to solution. How are we going to get Nigerians to now be scientifically oriented, understand that this is our problem and we can devise a way to solve our problem through the education we've got?
I believe that we have to, there must be total reorientation. Most people have gone to school not seeing the connection between what's going on in school and real life. We have to demonstrate it. We have to, and right from childhood, we have to tear up the curriculum that we have right now, which is oriented more towards, rote learning. 2 times 1, 2, 2 times 2, 4, 2. What help does that give to anybody that a little child can recite 2 times? I saw a little boy, like a 3-year-old. He was given that kind of an assignment. I was telling the parents, this is useless. This is not what the child ought to be learning. When my children went to school in the US, I was shocked. The first day, a 4-year-old, she went to pre-kindergarten. The first test they gave her was they put, a rope along the floor. And they said, just walk along that rope to see whether she could walk on a straight line. Things like careful, precise measurements. Our carpenters, our masons cannot measure properly. These are things you must learn from childhood. Exactitude. Precise measurements. So things like that, we must be able to teach the skills and competences that we will need for life.
So to connect life with education,
yes,
to school.
Yes.
Okay, if you look at our education these days, it seems private institutions are taking over. A professor of literature in Canada, Power Studies was on my program sometime, and he said there is no nation that moves into modernity, leaving behind public education. Do you agree?
I agree completely. Remember, I had mentioned the issue of what we are doing with our human capital. Private education is saying this quality education is for only a minority. when we allow our public schools to go to the dogs, we are saying that those children don't matter. They are not the ones upon whom we are counting for the development of our country. That is suicidal. That is suicidal. A country must give, remember what I said about access for everybody, equal opportunity, equal access. In fact, Nigeria is a signatory to the protocol, yes, on basic education, that from up until the age of 16, every child should go to school. And it's not just go to school to go and waste your time. There must be quality instruction going on in those schools.
But this is a nation where we have over 10.5 million children out of school.
Yeah. And it does not seem to bother us. It does not seem to bother our leaders. Let me take back that us, because it does bother some of us fundamentally. I am ashamed that my country in this day and age can close its eyes to the matter of young people not being in school. It's those roaming the streets, those herding cattle, they're not in school, those begging, just sitting around, those selling plantain chips and pure water, running in between vehicles, cars, traffic, and things like that in traffic. That's the reality we have.
Let's hit on agriculture. I'm sure that we could also talk something about agriculture. You also said that agriculture is one area you think Nigeria should critically look into among the first three you considered.
Yes.
What is wrong with our way of doing agriculture?
No, the fact is that agriculture has the potential for doing several things for us. For diversifying from our oil-based economy, providing a lot of employment if we do it properly, ensuring food security, earning foreign exchange, and so on and so forth. Agriculture is a major area of activity, especially in the private sector. Imagine, I am thinking we could bring back those cottage industries. There's an idea, a principle that I came across recently. They talked about frugal innovations. The issue is that Nigeria, cannot frog leap to the same level of development of the advanced countries immediately. Let's be realistic. However, we can also say maybe we don't need the level of sophistication that they have in several areas, but we can definitely improve on the level where we're at.
Okay.
So what if we just went up, a little bit? Innovations, frugal, that are not, wasteful, that are not, completely high class, and maybe really would only be useful for a minority of people. I was invited by the Computer Science Association of Nigeria not long ago to give a lecture at their annual conference, and I was challenging them about it. How can you upgrade, some of our small and medium scale enterprises with computer technology, for example? So I think for young people, how can we get them into agriculture? the teeming millions of them that do not have jobs. We're not going to get them with hoes and cutlasses. There's no doubt about that. So we need this, a higher level of entrance point for them. How do we go about that? I think those are some of the issues I see in agriculture that are promising, and also processing.
Let me pitch an idea here. Do you think it would be interesting if we can use your template of higher level of entry and use NYSC, for instance, to push such a thing, make it interesting for them?
It could be. It could be. In fact, I have expressed my concern that the NYSC is a program that we are not using sufficiently. I have pitched an idea about the NYSC incorporating military training. It was meant to be sort of like paramilitary. Imagine if we gave the NYSC, we could even make it 2 years, who knows, I don't know. If we gave them the skills for monitoring security in the various communities to which they are posted. Do you know that? Because the NYSC members are all over the nation. There's hardly a community that would not have NYSC members.
Okay.
If we empowered them to do some of those jobs for us.
All right. Before we move to politics, there's just one more issue that I wanted to, talk about. Power is considered a major problem in Nigeria. Power supply is considered a major problem in Nigeria, from generation to distribution, infrastructure, deficit, tariff, crazy billings, and all of these things, discourse, privatization. Do you have a strategy as a Madam President, for instance, with which you think we can get power supply, adequate power supply in Nigeria?
Probably the same way we got GSM into everybody's hands. Get government out of the whole business.
The entire value chain.
Get government out of power supply. What is government looking for? Anything that government handles in any way in our, in our environment. Practically everything. And it will go again with this decentralization. If we decentralize, we'll decentralize the railway, we'll decentralize electricity, we'll decentralize water works, and so on and so forth. When I was studying in the US, I got my energy supply from NYSC, New York State, energy. It wasn't a centralized thing, And you have different people. The focus is that we need energy, and we needed it yesterday.
Yes, I agree.
So all this tying ourselves down with, government is the only one that has the right to generate energy, is the only one that can do railway and things like that. How come it's not working? So get out of the way and let those who have the capacity. In fact, we are suffering so much because of it. Using GSM telephones in Nigeria is a lot more expensive than in many other places. Why? Because they have to build all the infrastructure by themselves. They can't just plug in to some existing, power supply system. So we are paying for that. We are paying for the ineptitude of government in providing services for us. And I think that providing services really is not the job of government.
Okay, we wish you
in
best
terms of getting their
power.
Hands into,
generation and the rest.
Exactly.
You were the standard bearer for Kowa Party in 2015.
Yes.
as we speak today, I've seen about 3 individuals who equally wants to slug it out, at that space to become the representative of the party or to stand, I've seen an accomplished actor, businessman and the rest in this race. So how sure are you that you're going to get your party's ticket?
I'm not sure. How could I be sure? Because it's the people who will vote. So I'm not sure. What I can be sure of always is what I will do. I know the effort I'm willing to make. I know, maybe the plans, the hard work I will put in and things like that. The outcome is not in my hands, really. So I can't tell you that, it's a foregone conclusion or something like that. We don't do that. And there is no big man in Kowa Party who is going to insist, who is going to say, this is the person that we are going to have. It will be voted, So if I manage to control the to convince rather, if I manage to convince the members, because ours is not going to be by delegates.
It's not delegate system.
No.
Okay. Is that
every member is going to
vote
once you are a paid up member of Kowa Party. In fact, you might not even have to be at the venue.
Okay. Is there a system?
Yes, we have done it before when we had a congress in Lagos. Because, it doesn't mean that everybody will be able to congregate in a place. Maybe you have some business that is important that will take you, that will prevent you from being at a venue. Should that mean that you therefore would be unable to cast your vote in selecting your, so we set up an electronic system so that we said between 12 noon and 2 p.m., cast your vote from wherever you are. This is the platform, log in, cast your vote, and that was it. Technology is available to do a lot of things, and we're not planning, they know that there's no distribution of money in any place or something like that. No rice, no anything. So cast your vote.
Your party is unique. You're not going to give people something for coming to vote.
What kind of something would that be?
Anything. No souvenirs.
Is it not their party? Is it not their party? What is democracy? By the people. They are as much people as I am. That's my own, I always say, whose money are we supposed to be spending here? If you are not willing to contribute to turning things around in this country, we'll all sit there and be suffering together. People have to understand that. Where do these politicians get the money that they are distributing from?
Okay, if we are convinced, which we are, that money plays a major role in running elections in Nigeria, I'm sure you heard that we're planning to spend 242 billion naira to run 2019 elections.
Yeah, it's a pity.
Why did you say that?
It is a pity. Nigeria has more.
So, you were talking about electoral spending on elections, and I was asking you, we're going to spend 242 billion naira. 2015, we spent 111 billion naira. Now it's 242 billion naira. And you say it's a pity.
It is a pity. It is a pity. Look around our schools. Look on our roads. Look at our roads. Look at our universities and so on. And you are committing that huge amount of money just to select a handful of people to run your affairs.
Everywhere in the world, election is expensive.
That's what Nigerians say. Everywhere in the world, elections are expensive. But please look everywhere else in the world and see the state of their countries. Look at what they have already done. People say, oh, even in the US, elections are very expensive. Excuse me, have you just look outside any window in the US and look at the environment, look at the streets, look at how things are already functioning, and you have the nerve to be comparing yourself with America and say even in America elections are expensive. Don't you have more urgent needs to meet with your own money, so that your streets are as clean as the ones in America? And the state of the roads is like that in America.
So I'm wondering, election requires that you spend a lot of money, even as a candidate. You've had experience. You've had to move around Nigeria to convince people to vote for you. And so how did you run 2015? And if you get the ticket this time, how do you hope to run it, particularly in terms of financing it?
It was interesting. I've actually written a book on my 2015 experience. I'll give you a copy before you go.
Thank you for that.
It's going to be, I have a public presentation of it on the 23rd of August.
Where?
God willing. Hopefully at the NIRA.
Okay.
In Lagos.
Lagos, okay.
I did not put myself under pressure for money. I tend to minimize the importance of money in things that I do anyway. I believe that ideas, people have heard it, that ideas run the world.
So to say.
Ideas run the world. You can spend a whole bunch of money stupidly. And I believe that we have done that. I personally don't want to be a part of it. I'm not going to. I don't even have it, and I'm just fine. I really am just fine. The kind of money I need is just to be able to print some handbills, put up a few posters, go around the country.
Even that is expensive.
So that I know. But we are not talking billions here. I know how much I spent. You'll find it in my book.
Shall we read that?
Yeah. For the last elections, there are also avenues that are open to, people like me who do not have so much money to connect with the public. Thank God for the social media and so on and so forth. Yes, I would love to have a little bit more money to be able to go to more places so that I can connect directly with the people. If there was something that I missed the last time, was that I could not go to as many places. I did not have the funds to go.
Your party is in coalition with a lot of other parties. Is that a lot of people worried because of your values, because of the positioning of your ideology as a party, to be singing with these other parties that are probably at variance with your ideology? What does your
and to be honest with you,
hope to gain from that coalition?
I don't know yet. To be honest with you, it's an issue for us too. Not everybody agrees.
Okay.
Right? Not everybody is convinced that we ought to be in that coalition. But when you are in a group, you go with majority opinion and so on and so forth. I'm waiting, personally. And I put it out on the social media when people were asking me, it turns out you are just like the rest of them and so on. Look, you've gone into this coalition. And I just said, please give me some time to see what direction things will go in.
Would you make a tough decision about it if your party is key on that coalition?
No, I can't. I'm not a quitter. I'm more like a fighter.
So you're not going to defect like these people are doing?
No. If I was going to defect, I would have defected a long time ago. I don't do stuff like that. I just don't do stuff like that.
Professor Remi Sonaiya, thank you for speaking with Splash FM.
My big pleasure.
Thank you.
It's been a good one. Thank you very much.
And that's it on Inside for this week. We do hope you will join us next Sunday at 4 p.m. when I'll bring you the concluding part of that interview. Many thanks to Olua Folajimi Adeyefa for a yeoman's job. For inquiries and comments, you can reach me via email on sakinola@splashfm1055.com. sakinola@splashfm1055.com. My Twitter handle is @SeunAkinola, @SeunAkinola, 0811-2494-231 for SMS and WhatsApp only, 0811-2494-231. I'm Oluwaseun Akinola. Do enjoy the rest of your Sunday.